All the next two amudim are going to be very famous and important Bika Cholim Gemaras, and then the last amud is going to be like 4 lines long, and we'll do one of those 4 lines. Also very important in the context of Hilchos. Yeah. In the context of Hilchos Mikvos. That's very, very important stuff. So let's begin. Mishnah says, Hamoder Hana Mechavero. So if somebody is not getting any benefit from his fellow, V'nichnas levakro, and he comes to visit him. Note that it is very unclear what the pronoun usage is over here. Who exactly is not allowed to benefit from whom? Who is visiting whom? Omer avalo yoshev. For whatever reason, he can stand, but he cannot sit. So presumably, whoever is visiting, that we can assume is the one who's standing and not sitting. Presumably the sick guy is not the one standing or sitting. Merapa refuas nefesh avalo refuas mamon. Right. So you can give him the healing of the soul, but not the healing of the dollar. Unclear what that is either, but that's not going to be tackled in today's stuff. Okay. So turn to the Law Testament. Gemara asks the question, but what exactly is the case over here? Who is not allowed to benefit from whom? And the basic issue we're going to try to clarify is this distinction. Why is the Mavaker Cholim allowed to stand in front of the other person, but not allowed to sit? That's going to be the key issue that is very difficult to clarify. If it's a situation where the sick person is banned from benefiting from the Mavaker, so then afilu yoshev nami. So the visitor can do whatever he wants, right? And the visitor, it's the sick person who can't benefit from the visitor. So if the visitor walks into his house, he do what he wants, right? He's allowed to benefit from the sick person's house. He can benefit from his central air conditioning or his heating and his roof, etc. What's the problem? But if the problem is that the visitor is not allowed to benefit from the sick guy, then afilu omei nami lo. Then he shouldn't be allowed into the man's house. So who cares if he's standing up? It should be unacceptable. So again, how do we get to this middle ground? Amar Shmuel. So we're going to have 2 approaches in the Gemara, one from Shmuel and one from Ula. So first, Amar Shmuel. Actually, the case is where the sick person is prohibited from benefiting from the visitor. So not only is the guy sick, but he also has a neder hana against himself. It's a bad day. And the case is where people will take money to do Bikur Cholim when they're going to be sitting down, but they will not take money to do Bikur Cholim when they are standing up. So therefore, if this person is going to voluntarily do a sitting down level of Bikur Cholim, that's already a prohibited form of benefit. Now, our hackles may be raised already because you're not supposed to benefit from a mitzvah. Right, so the Ran tackles this and clarifies that what's happening is you're not allowed to get payment for the basic mitzvah, but the plus level, the deluxe level, right, the premium level of the mitzvah, there already you can charge money, and that's what's happening over here. So the base level of Bikur Cholim in the context of standing, he couldn't charge money for, but he can charge money for the actual level of sitting while doing Bikur Cholim, and that's what's happening over here. That was the minhag hamakol. Now that's a little bit forced because it's not what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah makes it sound like it's an across-the-board ruling. It turns out it's only relevant in a case where they have this very particular minhag hamakol. So that's exactly the Gemara's question. Gemara asks 6 lines down, Lamed Testament Aleph, my Pascha. What's Shmuel doing making this artificial distinction like this, right? In the afternoon shir yesterday, we saw the same Gemara, the same line. So the line the Gemara likes to use. So I'm going to explain. Takam Ashalan, Daf Malka Shnotlan Schar, Al HaYeshiva, by LeMishkal, Al Hamida, Lo Boy LeMishkal. So even in a place where, hold on a second, let me close this again. What does Boile Mishkal mean? He needs to.
I think this is the point you were just making, right? Like a person is allowed to charge for the premium, but you're not even allowed to charge to just do the mitzvah.
They're not allowed. Okay, so yeah, they're not right. Low bite makes it sound like they don't need to, right? It means they're not allowed to, right? So even in a place where, right, the minhag hamakol is to charge for the yeshiva, so they cannot charge for the amida. Okay, so that's one possibility, that the Mishnah is not trying to teach us anything at all about nedarim. It's just teaching us halacha in Bikur Cholim, that Bika Cholim cannot be charged for Amida. Okay. V'bais Ima Kidder Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim, who is I think coming up in the Gemara. We've covered him yet, right? Gezerah Shema Yisha ba'Amida. So he has a concern that you might stay too long. So Achanami Gezerah Shema Yisha b'Yeshiva. So here too, so Gezerah he might sit, get comfortable, and stay too long. Okay, so be that as it may, Shmuel says the Mishnah is a case where the sick person is banned from getting benefit from the visitor, and the illegal benefit we're talking about here is the extended deluxe form of sitting Bikur Chol. That's going to explain the chiluk in the Mishnah. Now, the other view of the Mishnah, Ula Amar LaOlam Shenichse Chola Asurin Al Hamavakar. So Ula says no. It's the case which is probably the one you think more intuitively, where the visitor is not allowed to benefit from the sick person. Uchagon Shalo Adre Min Chayuse. So why is the visitor allowed in the room? He's visiting from the sick person's house and shelter, etc. So he did not make a neder against his life. In other words, when I turn to my I guess former friend and I say no benefit for you, so I'm not going to do that at my expense, right? I do it at the other guy's expense. So that's an invisible clause. So that's what's happening over here. Yeah, of course. When I said he can't benefit from me, that doesn't mean if he's coming to do Bika Cholim, if I'm on death's door, and he's going to come into my house, yeah, okay, you can benefit from my roof in such a situation. So the problem is, it's a very nice idea, but again, it doesn't really explain that very fine distinction the Mishnah made. The Gemara asks, "Ihachi afilu yoshev nami." So then the guy should be allowed to sit. If I had a carve out for him that the neder doesn't apply when it's in my benefit, so then let the man sit down. So the Gemara says, no, because the Mavakar could stand up. So when I made the neder hana against the guy, I was really, I'll be allowed the minimal benefit for me. But hey, what benefits me is him being in the room. It benefits him to be sitting down, and that is not going to be permitted. That is the claim of Ula to explain the Mishnah and the distinction the Mishnah made. Okay, Meisver. Chala. So the person got sick. Hu nichnas levakro. So you're allowed to visit him. In the case of a neder hana, chala b'no shoalo b'shuk. But if the person's son got sick, so then you're not allowed in the house. Instead, the best you can do is ask how he's doing in the marketplace. So bishlam leula d'amar b'shenichse chola asurin al hamavakir. So then this makes a lot of sense. If the problem is the visitor is not allowed to benefit from the sick person, so we can understand the difference between the sick person and the sick person's son. If the carve out was you didn't make a neder against your own benefit, that's okay. The guy didn't make a neder against his own benefit, but he did make a neder against his son's benefit. So the visitor would have been allowed in to visit the father. However, he would not be allowed into the room to visit the son. So Ula can explain the Bryce well. Yeah. Shmuel. But according to Shmuel, who says that the problem is that the case we're dealing with over here is that the sick person is not allowed to benefit. So then my shna hu my shna beno. So it's not it's a bit of a funny way of asking the question. What's interesting in him? What's interesting in his son? Right? It's even more than that, right? He should be allowed to do whatever he wants. He should totally be allowed to visit the son. Okay, so Shmuel's in trouble. So what's Shmuel going to obviously have to say? Amar lach masnisin b'shenichse mevaker asurin al hachola brisa b'shenichse chola asurin al hamavaker. So Shmuel's going to have to say that the Mishnah and the Brisa are dealing with different cases. The Mishnah, which said you're allowed to stand but you're not allowed to sit, so that was talking about where the visitor is not allowed to benefit. And the Brisa, which made this distinction between visiting the visiting the person and visiting the person's son, that's where the neder hana was against the visitor. Okay, no problem. Now, once again, the Gemara asks, well, there is a problem. My piska, all things being equal, I would have assumed that it sounds like the Mishnah and the Brisa are dealing with the same case, right? It sounds like the Brisa was like an oral extension of the Mishnah that just Rabbi Nasi didn't put it into the actual Mishnah, but the Brisa sounds like it's supposed to be an extension of the Mishnah. So how is Shmuel introducing once again this artificial distinction? So Amar Rava to the next Amud. Shmuel. So Shmuel Masnis and Kishi say, so Shmuel say, look, he's got a problem on either side. And he was really bothered by the language of the Mishnah. My iri, the Tani Omed, Avalo Yoshe. He was really, really bothered by that distinction between the stander and the sitter. Shamina, the Nechse Mavaker, Asur and Al Hachola. I said it must be that the Mishnah is in the case where the stander is prohibited from benefiting from, or where the visitor is prohibited from visiting the chol. Right? Ula's distinction. Oh, when I make another hana against you, I make another hana. It's not for my benefit, but you can stand as to visit me. But if you're sitting to visit me, that's already your benefit. Shmuel was not impressed by that. If we're going to make this distinction, this carve out for chiyuse, for no benefit, the man can sit down when he visits. Which really makes sense if you think about it, because Shmuel's whole point at the beginning of the Gemara was people will pay money for the mavakar to sit down. You got a much better Bikur Cholim service if the visitor is sitting down. So Shmuel is really convinced that that's all for the benefit of Chola. Therefore, he did not buy the Chilak of Ula, and therefore he was forced to explain the Mishnah and the Brisa as dealing with different cases.
That payment, that was payment by the Chola? Is that what happened, or was it like a communal payment?
By the Chola, it sounds like. That's why there's a Neder Hana problem, right? Because you're giving them a freebie. If it's the Tzibur, then there's no. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We'll see. That's 27%. Okay. So now let's get into Bikur Cholim for the next two dapim. So Amar Reish Lakish Remez. We got to move. Remez Bikur Cholim and Ator Minayin. So how do I know there's a hint to Bikur Cholim in the Torah? Shneimar Im Kamos Kol Hadam Yemusun Ela Ufkudas Kol Hadam Begomer. So where is this pasuk being quoted from? Where is this pasuk from? Yeah. Where? Yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu Torah. Right. So this is not, Reish Lakish is a genius. This would not have been the top of my list for Bikur Cholim. I would have thought, like Avraham Avinu, something nice. So Reish Lakish says exactly. He says, no. The one case, or the meanest line Moshe Rabbeinu ever has in his life is a line. It's an amazing idea, right? Moshe Rabbeinu's meanest line ever is a line which hints to Bikur Cholim. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu says about Dasan and Aviram and that whole chevra, if they die like regular people, ufkudas kol adam, right, and then the pekudah, which we normally would translate as the memory of everybody. Yipaked alehem lo Hashem shalachani. Right? If they die like regular people, then Hashem didn't send me. And then the next pasuk, which the Gemara is about to quote, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say, if Hashem creates an opening in the earth and swallows them up, then you know that actually these people are rebellious and Hashem sent me. What on earth does this have to do with Bikur Cholim? So, my mashma. So Gemara asks, what on earth? What does this teach us for Bikur Cholim? Amar Rava. So Rava has to come and explain Reish Lakish's line. Im kamos kol adam yemusin ela. If these people die like everyone else dies, meaning what? How do people normally die? Shen cholim. Yeah. Normally they die. They die in a sick bed. They're sick. Mutalim barisasan. Right there in their bed. Ubnei adam mevakrin osan. And people visit them. In other words, that's when the pasuk, the second of the pasuk, it said, "Ufkudas kol hadam yipakid alehem." Right? Moshe said, if they die like other people, with people visiting them, so the normal people die as being visited. If that's the case, then okay. All right, that's true. So Zlazeh Darash Rava. Now Rava is going to make a drash on the next pasuk. Im Bria Yivra Hashem Im Bria. So right, it's a funny. He's going to split the pasuk. The pasuk is going to say Im Bria Yivra Hashem. Right. So if Hashem will surely create, is the pshat of the pasuk. If Hashem will surely create an opening. So, but Rava is going to make a chilek over here. Im Bria Gehenim Muta. If Hashem has already created Gehenim for these people to fall into, that's great. Imlav, Yivra Hashem. If not, let Hashem create Gehenim, because I need some terrible place for these people to fall into. Fascinating line from Rava. Not only like we've made Moshe Rabbeinu nice, he's Rabbi Tzibur Cholim, now making mean, saying, God, if you haven't created hell yet, create it for these people. So the problem is that, of course, Gehenim was created already. Gemara says, Shiva Dvar Nivru Kodem Shnivra Olam. There are 7 things created before the world. Elohim, Torah, Tshuva, Gan Eden, Gehenim, Kisei Kavod, Beis Hamikdash, Ushmo Shel Mashiach. That's 7 things. Number 1, Torah. How many Torahs created before the world? Asiv, Hashem, Kaneni Reishis Darko, Big Omer. So right, that's the Torah is talking, the pasuk in Mishlei. So Hashem created me in the beginning. Tshuva Dechsev. Now we're up to Dalet over here. So this is the pasuk from Tehillim Tzadi. B'terem Harim Yuladu. Vatcholel v'gomer. So Tshuva was created before the mountains. Tashev Enosh Adaka v'gomer.
Can you quote the entire pasuk so that because a lot of times you don't understand what it's saying without.
You could, in this context, all you need to know is that the first pasuk, Tehillim says, "B'terem harim yuladu," right? That God created it before the mountains, and the next pasuk it says, "Tashev enosh adaka." Man is going to do tshuva. So the idea is that tshuva was created before the mountains. Okay. The next one also, the line they give us is self-explanatory. Dechsev Gan Eden Dechsev Vayita Hashem Elokim Gan Be'eden Mikedem. So God created the garden. Now the shot again here is that Gan Eden was in the east, but here we're going to read it chronologically, right? That Hashem created Gan Eden beforehand. Gehenim Dechsev Ki Aruch Me'esmol. Tafta. So this is Yeshaya, who's talking about a place called Tafta, which was created Me'esmol from previously, and that is one of the references to Gehenim. Kisei Akaba Dechsev Nachon Kisacha Me'az. You hear the Kalbach tune, right? The year throne was established from eternity; it was always there. Beis Hamikdash Tichsiv Kisei Kavod Marom Meirishon. So even greater than the original. And then the next, this you do need the next half of the pasuk because Yirmiyahu concludes Mekom Mikdashin. It's talking about the Mikdash.
Well,
Okay,
this
fine.
is talking about Mikdash Shlishi that's going to come down.
Well, okay, so that's okay. Welcome to the drashas, exactly, right? Multiple meanings. And then finally, Shmo Shel Mashiach Techsiv Yehi Shemo Liolam. So his name is going to be forever. So I guess if his name is going to be forever, then that has to mean both in the future, but also in the past. Okay. So anyway, how could Rava say that Moshe Rabbeinu was asking Hashem to create Gehenim from scratch for Korach and his followers to fall into? It cannot be. Al-Hachik Amar. Here's what really he meant. Puma Mutav. If there was an opening to Gehenim, then wonderful. And Lav Yivra Hashem. So if not, let Hashem create an easy, conveniently accessible opening to Gehenim for them to fall straight into. What do you mean? We don't create things that are new. Ka says there's nothing new under the sun. A new opening to hell would qualify. So now, Hach Yamar, lo mikra of Pumala Hachalikr. So if it's here, great. If not, Hashem, please bring the previously created entrance to Gehenim and bring it straight into the desert for them to fall into. Good. Onwards. Darash Rava v'Amrila Amr b'Yitzchak. Ma'idich Shemesh Yareach Amad Zvula. Right. So this is the pasuk in Chavakuk. So the Navi talks about the Shemesh and the sun and the moon standing. The rest of the pasuk says L'or chitzach yalechu. Right. They're gonna, in the light of your arrows, they will travel, and that's Lenoga Brak Chanisata, the glow of your spear. So what are we talking about? The sun and the moon are standing, and then there are Hashem's arrows and spears. What exactly is going on over here? So we're going to say this is in the context of Korach. Sorry. So Shemesh Yarech Amad Zvula Shemesh. I'm not sure the Bach is going to fix something because there's something wrong over here. Gemara Shemesh. Yeah, Shemesh Yarech Bizvul. My bayan. What are the sun and the moon doing in Zvul, which is one of the higher levels of Shemayim? Right. They belong in Rakia, one of the lower levels of Shemayim. So they're doing all the way up there. So in the moment of Korach Vadaso, so the sun and the moon were so angry on behalf of Moshe Rabbeinu, they left the lower heaven and they go up to Zvul. If you do din for Moshe, the son of Amram, then we'll do light. It's like the train workers, right? Trying to do a strike. So same thing over here. We're on a strike. So if not, we're not going to light up that day. So don't go on strike against Rebbe Shalom. It's not going to end well for you. So that moment, Hashem shot arrows and spears at the sun and the moon. This is awesome. So every single day, the whole world worships the sun and the moon, and you guys enjoy it. You guys do not complain one peep. All of a sudden, right, a wide line, Right, all of a sudden, every they complain about man, and you guys are all up and offended for the covenant of Basar Badan. Exactly. So therefore, Yorin behem chitzim v'chaniso. So Hashem sends arrows at them. Now they light. In other words, the sun and the moon did tshuva. So every day the sun and the moon say, "Oh, we don't want to shine today because we're going to be worshipped by the idolaters." And so Hashem says, "No, I'm going to shoot arrows at you. You have to follow the tava. You have to go and light up the wall." Shnamar lor chitzach alechu v'gomer. Okay, so that's interesting. Now let's go back to Bikur Cholim Tanya. Bikur Cholim ein lashir. So we should know that because we say it every morning. But what does it mean? My ein lashir. What do you mean there's no shear for Bikur Cholim? Sorry, Yosef Lemeimar. In sheer lamatan schara. So Yosef thought it meant that the reward is infinite. Amalei Abaya, the kol mitzvos, mi yesh sheer lamatan scharan. We don't know the schar for any mitzvah. Tanan Navi Zer mitzvah kalak el chumurish. Enatir de matan scharan shal mitzvos. We have to operate on the assumption that all mitzvos have tremendously incomprehensible schar. So it must mean something else. Elam Abaya, I feel a gadol etzal katan. Abaya says in sheer means no social hierarchy over here, right? Even the gadol should go and do bikur chom to the katan. Hey, right? In Vayira, Hashem does bikur chom to Avram Avinu. Rav Amar, I feel a me'ap hamayom. Rav says it's not a qualitative issue; it's a quantitative issue. You can perform bikur chom 100 times a day. Okay. Amar Bacha Bar Chanina, Kol Vaka Chola, Notel Achad Mishishim B'Tzaro. So anybody who does bikur cholim gets 1/60th of his tsar removed. So if that's the case, we can put Advil out of business. Amri Leim Kain, Leilon Shisin Velokma. So do 60 bikur cholims. Rabbi said a guy does 100. Do 60, and it's going to be a total cure. Amrlei Ke Isu Raisa Debei Rebbe. It is like the 10th of the base medrash of Rebbe. What is that? We'll find out in one second what this means. Uv Ben Gilo. Okay, so what is Ben Gilo? Right, so the Farish here says, yeah, the guy should be around his age. In other words, if it's someone who's on a higher level than you, I guess you're not going to get that same level of schar. Okay. So anyway, what is this Bei Rebbe thing over here? So the Sanya Rebbe Omer Bas Hanizonis Minichse Achin Notelas Isur Nachasim. So if you have a whole bunch of kids, you have a bunch of orphans, and you have one daughter whose mizonos comes out of the estate, so she is entitled to 1/10 of the estate for the mizonos. So Amrlo Rebbe L'Dvarecha Mi Sheisho Eser Banos Uben Einlo Uben. Sorry, and you say if the guy has 10 daughters and one son, now Einlo Leben B'Makom Banos Klum. So we're going to give every daughter 10%, and then the son is going to be left with nothing. That's not fair. So Amlahen Rishon tell us Isur Nachasim. So the oldest would take 10%. Shnia Meshashira. Then the second one takes 10% of the remaining. Shisha Shashayara. So etc. And then and then you do the math. Actually, each daughter is entitled to 10% of what it would be if each daughter took a progressive 10%. So we're not going to discriminate against the younger daughter. All right, awesome. So the same thing is going to be true over here, right? So the bikur cholim is going to progressively, gradually lower the tsar, but it's never going to actually even come close to removing it. Okay, Rav Chalbo Cholish. So Rav Chalbo got sick. Nafak Ichriz of Kahana. Page. Yes. Rav Chalbo Boish. So Rav Kahana wants he's a bikur cholim campaign. Right? He's saying everyone Rav Chalbo is sick, but lo ika takasi, but nobody came to visit him. So Rav Kahana is Rav Kahana is scandalized. Amlahu. So there's one of Rabbi Akiva's students famously became sick. Nobody went to visit him. Maybe this was before the whole Lag BaOmer episode. I don't know. And then Rabbi Akiva came to visit. And because they swept the house, the kid lived. The different version of the story. The one I learned as a kid was that Rabbi Akiva came. Rabbi Akiva was shocked that the room was so dirty and neglected. Rabbi Akiva has them sweep up the room to take care of the kid. All of a sudden, the Talmud does better. So it's very important to do bikur cholim. Amarlei, Rabbi Hechi Yisani, and the Talmud said to Rabbi Akiva, you saved me. Yatz Rabbi Akiva darash, kol mi she'ein b'bikur cholim, kila shofech tamim. Anybody doesn't do it, it's as if he's committing murder. So how can it be? We need to go to bikur cholim to Rav Chalbo. Okay. Gesser of Dimi Amar, kol b'vakas achola, gorm lo sheyecha, kol she'ein b'vakas achola, gorm lo she'imos. So Rav Dimi showed up from Israel, and he said, "It's life or death, man. Life or death. We do bikur cholim." My grum. What does it mean? You're causing. What does it mean? You're causing. If we say anybody who does Bika Cholim will daven for him, wow. Anybody who does the Bika Cholim, he's davening for God to kill the guy. What? Nobody's davening people to die. So what does it mean? If somebody came about the Bika Cholim, presumably he's not going to be about to daven for him anyway, and that is going to be tantamount to causing him to die. Okay. Rava Yuma Kedma de Chalish. The first day, if Rava would get sick, so on day one, Amar Lahon Lo Tiglu Leinish. Don't tell people. I don't my mazel being messed around from people knowing all around that I'm sick. Mikan ve'elach. But if he was still sick on day number 2, Amar Lahon Puka ve'chrizu b'shuka to call the sanili lechtili. So anybody who doesn't like this, anybody who hates me is gonna rejoice. Rav has enemies too. And that's bad. So I want my enemies to be rejoicing over me. That's bad. And the people who love me, you're gonna daven for me, and I want that to happen as well. Okay.
So he wants it to be announced in the shoot.
If he wants, he's legitimately sick. Day one, hold back. If he's legitimately sick, he wants it announced in the shuk from day 2 onwards. He wants it to be public information. Okay. Next man up. Amar Rav. Anybody who visits the chola is saved from Gehenna. Shneimar Ashrei Maskil El Dal B'Yom Ra'ah Yimaltei Hashem. Right, so Hashem will save him from the day of evil. So the key is if he's Maskil El Dal. So what does that mean? Ein Dal El Chola. So Dal is referring to someone who's ill. Shneimar, there's a pasuk over here, not from Yeshaya. Midallah Yivatzeni. Okay. So yes, that's referring to the sick person. Inami min hadin kraf. This pasuk. Madua ata kacha dal. Right. So this is Amnon. Right. So when Amnon, the twisted son of David, is sick, so his son Yonadav says, "Why do you look so shvach? Why do you look so ill?" Okay. So now that's dal. Ein real gehenim. Now this is probably the easier part. Evil is gehenim shemar kol palashem maneu v'gam rasha liyom ra'ah. So the evil is going to have his evil. The wicked will have his evil day. Okay. Then biker mascharo. So now, if he visits, what's the reward? So record scratch. What do you mean mascharo? Kadamar needs someone to meet the Gehenim. We said Rav said his reward is that he's saved from Gehenim. No. Elamascharo bolam hazeh. Now apparently biker cholam should be so great. You get not only a reward in the world to come, you should get a reward in the world that we live in as well. So Hashem yishmereu. So Hashem will guard him. And will revive him. The Osher Be'eretz, the Altadei Benefesh Oivav.
It's Ushar.
The Ushar. Oh, the Ushar Be'eretz, Altadei Benefesh Oivav. Okay, so that's all the pasuk from Tehillim, right? At least the beginning of this, we can understand on the media connected media level, right? You take care of the chola, they're gonna take care of you. Hashem's gonna take care of you. Okay, Hashem. But let's see what this means. Hashem Yishmereu Mi Tzahara. Hashem is going to protect you from the evil inclination. V'chayeyu many yisurin. He'll revive you from pains you have. That's what we discussed before the previous summit. V'ushar ba'aretz she'akol miskabdin bo. Everyone's going to be honored in his presence. V'altaneu b'nefesh oivav. She is damnu lo reim. He should have friends. Kin Naaman. Right, Naaman in Malachim base when he gets tzaras. So his friends. So they may be our Arameans. They're good friends. They tell him to go to Elisha. Sharipu is tzarasa, right? They tell him to go to Elisha the Navi, and that healed his tzaras. Ba'al yizdamnu reim ki Rachavim. Don't have friends like Rachavim. Shechalkos malchusa, right? Rachavim's friends, they cause him to lose, 10/12 of his kingdom. Okay, Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Elazar Omer. Im yomer lecha yeladim bina uzkenim so the banei. Or but no, I don't really realize this. Whatever, the kids tell you to build, and the zakinim tell you to destroy. So listen to the elders. Right. So shmal is zakinim. Valta shmal li'eladim. Why? Shebinyan eladim stira ustira zakinim binyan. Right. The building of the young ones, that's really destruction, and the destruction of the elders, that's a binyan. The similar davar Rechavim and Shlomo. Because what happened with Rechavim? Rechavim's young friends told him, raise the taxes like crazy, and the elders told him cut the taxes. So in that case, the stira, the cutting the taxes, would have really saved the kingdom, right? Instead, he tries to raise the revenue, and that just destroys the whole kingdom. Okay.
Is there an actual simon here, or is it just a
Hey, that's exactly what happened to Rechavam.
I know what happened to her.
So that's the simon.
It's just a, remember,
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on. Amar of Shisha Braid Rav Idi Lo Lisod Inish Kitsira Lo Bitzlas Shi Kadmaisa Velo Bitzlas Shi Basraisa Diyuma Ki Hechi De Lo Lesak Daite Min Rachame. So this again, someone's having a meal.
Don't visit.
Don't visit. How do you mean don't visit? You know?
That's how Shanta's gonna do.
Lo list of inish. Okay, so do not visit in the first 3 hours of the day and on the last 3 hours of the day. Okay.
Yeah.
So tlashi kadmaisa ravcha daite basraisa takef chulshe. So what does this mean?
The guy who looks all good in the first.
He looks very healthy in the morning, and then he looks terrible at the end. So you're gonna give up on it. So you're either gonna be too optimistic in the beginning, you'll be too pessimistic at the end. Great. Okay. Amarav and Amarav. How do you know that Hashem himself supports the sick person? Shnemar Hashem Yisadeu al Eresh Davoy. Right, Eres. Then Eres is a bed. Okay, thank you very much. Great. Okay. Amarav and Amarav. How you know the Shekhinah itself hovers over the bed of a sick person? Shnemar Hashem Yisadeu al Eres Davai. Going back to the same pasuk. Tanya B'Hachi. Hanichnas Lavakas Achola. Somebody goes to the visit. There's a halacha component over here. Lo Yeshiv. Do not sit. Lo al gabi mita. Lo al gabi safsal. The lo al gabi kise. El misatif. The yoshiv al gabi karka. Unesha shchina shuri l'mayla v'tasa shachola. You have to be aware when you visit a sick person, you are in the presence of the shchina, and you should behave accordingly. So do not, go chill out on the bench or on the bed.
It's funny how no one answered this in the beginning of the daf. Why is the difference between standing and sitting? I don't know. Maybe you never sit.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Does the Ran raise that?
well, it's not that they don't sit, but not.
Don't sit higher than the bed.
So and nobody, yes, no, this is important because nobody does this. Right? Every is big cholim, sits down. So yeah, look at the Ran. The Ran says, "Ikuman da Amar the dafka kishach chola shochev al gabe karka." It's only a problem if, like Nebuch, right, the sick person he's on the ground. Because then the person is sitting, he's sitting above the shechina. Okay, right. Well, and they were dirt poor, so the guy just strays a straw mattress down on the ground. Okay, I guess. Fine. Okay, Amar Rabin, right? Third to last line. Rabin, thank you. Amar Rav. Mitra. So now we're off of Bika Cholim. We're in the world of Amar Rav and Amar Rav. So he says Mitra be Ma'arava. If there is rain in Eretz Yisrael, which is in the west, so Sada Rabba Pras. Then you know that the Euphrates River is going to overflow. Right? Eretz Yisrael is in the west. The Euphrates, I think, begins up in Turkey in the west, and it flows east or down into Baba. Okay. Upliga the Shmuel. Damar Shmuel Nara Mikifia Mizbara. So Shmuel says no, the river does not get all of its overflow from the rain. It gets overflow from the underground water supply. Now, there's a major halachic ganachmin over here, which is why the next time is going to be so short. So where it says Shmuel, there seems to be an inconsistency in the view of Shmuel if the swollen rivers come from the rain above or from the water sources below. Damar Shmuel.
Depends on what time of year.
Well, so in Hamayim Mitarin Bezochlin. So right, the river, you cannot get purity from flowing water. Ela pras biyome Tishrei belvad, unless you're talking about the Euphrates in the month of Tishrei. So what is halachish over here? There are two forms of purity you can get. There's the mikvah and the mayan. So the mayan is the springs, and zochlin is not a problem if you have a fresh mayan. The problem is that a spring has to be groundwater; it can't be rainwater. The mikvah, you can have rainwater in your mikvah. In fact, that's exactly what our mikvah is, right? Is rainwater. However, a mikvah has to be a standing body of water; it can't be a moving body of water. That's the psul of zochlin. So the concern over here that Shmuel is addressing is if somebody goes to the river to quote unquote dip in the mikvah, so that's not accurate, right? We would say, they dip in the mikvah in the river. The river's not a mikvah. The river has to be a mayan. Therefore, says Shmuel, if you're dipping in the Euphrates is so swollen with rainwater
So you're not talking.
that you're not Tara, because that's a problem of Zochlin in the that's a problem of rainwater. It's rainwater, so you can call it Zochlin in your mikvah, right? It's rainwater that's moving, or it's rainwater in your mind. Call it away, doesn't work. Now, why does it work in Tishrei? Because by the end of the summer in the Middle East, ain't no rainwater, right? Whatever water on the Euphrates, the end of the summer, that's gonna be just groundwater. Okay, so that's the inconsistency we have in Shmuel. Now, Avua de Shmuel, who was a massive Talmud Chacham on his own, right? So what did he do? So he apparently held like Shmuel number 2. Avad lahun mikvos lebinte b'yomei Nisan, because he would set up mikvos for his daughters in the beginning of the spring, right? As the rivers swell from the rainy season. So now he would set up mikvos. They can't just go dipping in the mikvah anymore. Umafsi b'yomei Tishrei, and then he would set up mats in the time of Tishrei. What are the mats for again?
The feet in the river.
Oh, it's a safety situation here. Okay, so let's stop here. Shkach.
Okay.